Hello, today I would like to introduce our amazing speaker, Darryl Edwards. He's fitness explorer, founder of Primal Play Method, and author of bestseller book Animal Moves. It is about how we should be moving more like animals to become more human, to optimize our health and well-being. His main passion and interest is looking on how movement affects our physiology and epigenetically. Hello, Darryl. Thanks for joining us. What about are you going to talk at our Biohacking Congress in London on February 20th?
I'm going to be talking about movement as medicine. So we often hear about food being like medicine and food being able to either promote disease or promote good health. And I think movement often is overlooked because most of the time people think about fitness and movement for aesthetics, getting into shape, maybe for performance, but relatively few people are talking about the health benefits, the medicinal benefits for prevention as well as treatment of disease. So that's something that's fascinated me for some time. And for health, for longevity, for mental and cognitive function, it's such a wonderful, powerful pill, it's almost like a poly pill for better health and well-being.
Darryl, what is Primal Play Method?
So the Primal Play Method is really taking an approach to the lens of evolutionary biology, evolutionary fitness, our primal instinctive requirements for movement, and adding play as a way to make it more engaging and enjoyable. So one aspect of human beings, like many other animals, is we do have an appetite for play. We do have an epigenetic response from play. We do activate the feel-good hormones. We do maintain youthfulness and vitality through play. So if you can combine the two, movement, physical activity with play, then you have a far more potent and powerful mechanism for health. So the Primal Play Method is really just a system of applying the prescription of movement for humans using a vehicle to make it a little bit more enticing.
I read in your description that you think people don't do exercises or give up very fast just because they don't enjoy this. Really?
Yeah, so I think if we think about our biology, if we think about human beings, we're designed to conserve energy. So, we need energy to be able to, our ancestors would need energy to be able to hunt and gather food, to build shelter, to protect their environment. That would be the biological need for movement, for reproduction, to be able to protect our young, to socialize. That would be the requirement for movement. In the 21st century, we don't need to move in the same way as we used to. But our body still tells us it's okay to rest, it's okay to conserve energy, because we don't know where our next meal is coming from. So our biology tells us this, and the environment around us encourages us to be sedentary. So we have comfortable chairs, we can commute to work with transport, public transport, or in a car, we can sit at work all day. And so in that environment, it's very difficult for us to decide, you know what, I'm going to be really physically active. That's a difficult proposition for many people. So we have exercise, we have gyms, we have fitness programs, which tries to get people to move more, but it's like almost like an artificial construct, like an artificial approach to getting more activity in our lives. And if you think about the way people enjoy movement the most, like recreationally, things like dancing, celebration, that tends to be the way that we express ourselves in an optional way for movement. If you look at children, play is their way of expressing themselves with movement. That kids don't really like exercise. They don't really enjoy exercise. They certainly enjoy playing and having fun. And adults could learn a lot from how children approach physical activity. They have this thirst for vigorous activity, you know? So there's no reason why, if we're trying to maintain youthfulness and vitality, if we're trying to promote this, then surely we have to look back and be inspired by our childhood, where for many of us, that was where we were the most energetic, had the most zest for life. And I think from a biohacking point of view, many of us are missing this piece of the puzzle. So we're chasing, whether it's supplementations or nootropics or technology. We were searching for all of these pieces to be able to fulfill our, natural, youthful vigor, so to speak. But a lot of that is within us. A lot of that can be activated through having a more playful approach to life. So this is something that I teach with the Primal Play Method. And I think once you get over the hurdle of, oh, I'm just doing this because I have to, I have to exercise because it's good for my health. If that's the only reason to do this, we know what happens. 88% of people give up their New Year's resolutions by the 21st of January.
Yes.
21 days, 88% give up. By the end of the month, it's well over 90% of people who've given up. Really promising start to the year. Within a month, they fail. And it's the same every single year. There's no real difference to that number. And it's because it's difficult for us to make that sort of change. So for me, by incorporating more fun, looking at the world as my playground, and not deciding I can only do this in a gym. I can move anywhere. It could be my living room. It could be outside in my local park. It could be me taking the stairs rather than having to take the lift. So there's all these ways that I can use my imagination and creativity and have fun. So that's something that I really emphasize. And again, something about biohacking, we take it too seriously sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like, people aren't smiling. They're talking about how great their life is now. They've changed their lives. And there isn't a smile on their face. They're kind of frowning because it's such a serious option that I've taken to improve my health. But people who tend to live the longest and are the most fulfilled are certainly the happiest people. And so I don't want to be serious like a monk, like, and live a long life but have no joy. I'd rather live a shorter life, but have far more fun and enjoyment and have a smile on my face more often than not.
The World Health Organization recommends 150 minutes of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous physical activity weekly. Darryl, what do you recommend for people without severe illness?
Well, I suppose to begin with, they should definitely be meeting the minimum recommendation. So that 150 minutes or 75 minutes if it's vigorous, which is just half of that. But there's also 2 days of resistance training as well. So people tend to quote just 150 minutes of moderate intensity, but that isn't the whole prescription. So the recommendation by pretty much all public health organizations around the world is 150 minutes of moderate intensity, which would be a brisk walk if you're very unfit. It'd be running for somebody who's moderately fit, and 2 days of whole body strength training, resistance training. That's the minimum recommendation. And by meeting that minimum recommendation, you pretty much significantly reduce your likelihood of chronic lifestyle disease. So, heart disease, cancer, stroke, type 2 diabetes, your risk is reduced. In some instances by up to 50% of a disease risk reduction by meeting the minimum recommendation. But by doing more than the minimum, you get even more health benefits. So unfortunately, only about, depending on the research, only up to about a third of adults are meeting the recommendation. Some of the best estimates where they use like accelerometer devices, so when people are actually telling the truth, not just answering a questionnaire, It's only about 1 in 10 adults who are meeting the requirement. It's a similar number for children globally who are meeting the minimum, which is about 60 minutes per day for children. So I would say first try to meet the minimum recommendation. Make sure you're getting something that's going to be elevating your heart rate, you're getting out of breath, you're getting a bit of a sweat on. That should be something you do for 150 minutes per week. 5 days of 30 minutes is one recommendation. And then 2 days where you're actually stressing your muscles with resistance training, with strength training. As an ideal, the ideal tends to be about 350 or 300 to 450 minutes per week of moderate intensity activity. You can halve that if it's vigorous activity. So vigorous activity would be like a fast-paced run, playing tennis, singles tennis, playing most recreational sports would be that sort of intensity. And maybe 3 days a week of strength training. That's more pushing it to an optimal amount. For most people listening to this, they're going to say, that sounds like a lot of physical activity. 450 minutes a week, I don't have the time. And so some people are using high intensity interval training as a way of reducing the time commitment, but increasing the health benefits in a short amount of time. So there are protocols that you can do. And I use high intensity interval training myself as part of the Primal Play Method, actually, as a way of getting a lot of work done in a short amount of time. So here you're talking about sprints, you're talking about very challenging work in very short spaces of time. It's impossible to maintain the work rate. 15, 20 seconds all out, maximum effort. 1 minute maximum effort with a recovery, rest, recovery, and repeating. So your workouts will tend to be then just a few minutes of duration, but you're getting, you're getting the equivalent of doing a lot more hours per week of physical activity. The downside of HIIT training is it's very difficult to do. And most people think that they're doing HIIT training and they're really not. They're probably only doing vigorous intensity, but they believe that they're doing HIIT because it's quite challenging for them. But most HIIT training is really for professionals or people who are very well conditioned to be able to maintain the intensity to have the health effect you want. So I apologize that I don't have any shortcuts. There's no magic pill that can give you all of the health benefits from physical activity or exercise in a much shorter amount of time, apart from doing HIIT training. But you still have to do the work, and it's quite uncomfortable, and it can be quite painful to do. And most people give up even sooner. So there's no real, everything has a cost. Everything has, there's a benefit, but there's a significant cost depending on what you choose to do. So I would say try to get more incidental movement throughout your day. That way you're getting, if I'm standing, like now I'm standing at my desk. This is far better than me sitting down. I try to walk as often as possible. Any short journey, I will definitely decide to walk. I will always take the stairs. And by adding those minutes up over the day and throughout the week, it's much easier to target your, 300 to 450 minutes a week. Then I have my scheduled workouts or playouts, as I call them. So it's possible to do without spending too much time and overthinking it. But the health benefits are incredible.
Darryl, how does physical activity and especially your primal play method improve mental health and ability to concentrate on some tasks? Actually, does it?
Yes, it does because that's the benefit of physical activity. So we know that physical activity is a great way to deal with depression, to deal with anxiety, to deal with other mental disorders. It's again, the research, it's all over the research. There is no one denying that physical activity has this benefit. It's one of the best things we can do to prevent depression and also to deal with depression and anxiety. That's one. The reason being is because all of the feel-good hormones, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, all of these hormones are activated in some way by physical activity. Again, so serotonin is activated by physical activity, especially in daylight, in early part of the day with the sun. So serotonin is activated. Endorphins are released as a natural painkiller. Actually, they're released by physical activity. Serotonin, we've discussed. Endorphins we discussed. Dopamine, which is the risk reward hormone. So when you're physically active and you're doing something which is quite risky, so going for a run is risky. You may you may trip, you may twist your ankle. If you climb a tree, it's risky. How can I get down from the tree? If you jump over something, all of these movements are risky movements. But there's a reward. So usually there's an outcome after doing it, which makes you go, oh my goodness, I feel great. I feel alive. So all of these hormones help us to feel better. And if you try to use unnatural ways of activating those hormones, like taking antidepressants, for example, then you lose the ability to produce them yourselves. So you create this dependency on pharmaceuticals, which make you feel better than not taking them, but you never enable yourself to feel that good yourself. So, and of course, that's something that we're trying to do as biohackers. We're trying to think of ways that we can optimize our health and fully realize what our bodies are capable of, and use outside help if we need to. But the first place has to be looking at the fundamentals. So physical activity, as well as focusing on the physical, can also help us focus on cognitive function and our mood. It reduces cognitive decline, so you're less likely to have things like dementia, Alzheimer's, and the like if you're physically active. So, this sounds like an advertisement for something that's almost perfect, perfect intervention, but that's really how significant physical activity is. And for most people, we're thinking of ways to avoid it. Can I diet my way to a better body? Because I don't want to exercise. Can I get the health benefits of boosting cognitive function by taking a pill? Yes, but actually, you're going to get more oxygen to your brain if you move. That's the best way to get oxygen to your brain. That's the best way to improve your brain's ability to function. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which grows new brain cells. Physical activity, exercise boosts BDNF. So again, you have nature has given us this wonderful ability to produce these agents naturally. They're always going to work. When it comes from nature, there's no, we don't have to worry about bioavailability. Will they work for me? Yes, of course they will, because it's your body's producing them. This is the physiological response by doing this. So that's what fascinates me more and more. The more I look into the research, the more I look into our physiology and the kind of microbiology of how humans work, how humans respond epigenetically to movement as an intervention. It's pretty fascinating. And that's why I'm passionate about talking about this, because many people are ignorant of this information. It's not something which is often discussed, because other things probably are a bit more sexy to talk about. They're a bit more interesting to talk about. But actually, this is very interesting as far as I'm concerned, and deserves more of a platform, because it will save some people a lot of heartache, a lot of headaches. Oh, I wish I could achieve this. Actually, if you just did a bit more movement, you would probably solve that problem. That could be the solution for you, even though you're looking in other quarters for this. But actually, do some more exercise. What type should I be doing? Don't just do aerobic. Make sure you're doing resistance training as well, because resistance training has different benefits from aerobic training. So you can't just pick one or the other and say, oh, I'm really fit because I can run a marathon. No, you're fit enough to run a marathon. That's all that means. It doesn't mean you are physically fit, because physical fitness means you have the ability to do whatever your body demands of you. So that's what fitness actually means. Can I run away from danger? Can I sprint? Can I pick somebody up who needs help and carry them? Can I climb from danger? Can I jump a distance that I need to? You know, can I do these things that make me more capable as a human being, more functional? And that's a true reason for fitness, I would argue. And it's another reason why I do what I do with the Primal Play Method. So it covers health, but it also covers function.
Daryl, how do you think? Can exercises help you to lose body fat, or is it all just about diet?
Yeah, that's a. If I believed social media, uh, I would only believe the narrative that it's all about diet. So sometimes you might see like it's 80% diet, abs are made in the kitchen, 80% diet, 20% fitness, that sort of thing. But again, if you're comparing somebody who does a modern, a small amount of physical activity and somebody who diets and somebody who restricts their calories and somebody who really is thoughtful about what they consume, of course, diet will win hands down in terms of body composition. But some of those people are not only losing body fat, they're also losing lean mass. They're losing muscle mass. So they might be losing weight, but they could also be losing bone density. So there's a problem with just focusing on weight. If you're looking at body composition, that's where exercise is far more powerful, because the goal to optimize your health is not just losing weight for most people. It's by changing the composition from fat mass to lean body mass. So you want to be adding more lean muscle. So for myself, for example, I've gained 10 to 15 kilos from the start of my journey of improving my health. So I've gained weight. So if I was taking part in a study, I would fail. I'd be one of the people who exercised but didn't actually lose any weight. See, it doesn't work. You see, exercise is a waste of time. But my body fat percentage has come down. My lean muscle mass has improved. My bone density has improved. So for most people, that should be their focus, actually. Forget about the weight on the scale. If you're significantly overweight or obese, then of course you have to think about losing weight. But most of us need to be thinking about changing our body composition. And whenever I think about this, if I ever watch an elite sport, people playing football, people doing track and field, I, regardless of their diet, they all look remarkable. And usually it's because of the work that they do. It's not because of their diet. So this demonstrates what physical activity can do to the body when it's done in the right amounts and it's an appropriate type of activity for that individual. And that's something that people kind of dismiss, I would say, because it is easier to change what's on your plate. You can buy your foods. You can get somebody to prepare it for you. You can order it in. With exercise, even if I get a personal trainer, they're not going to do the work for me. I have to do the work. and and that's the problem. We have to do the work, and we have to do a lot of work, and it has to get more difficult over time. You can't do the same thing. It has to get more difficult. You have to put more stress on the body. It's a challenge. So yes, you have to look at your diet when it comes to body composition for sure. But you also need to look at your physical activity, because there are many people who are skinny fat. I don't know if you've heard this term before. So people who look very skinny, but they have high levels of body fat, internal body fat, low muscle mass, no muscle tone. And those individuals have a higher risk of chronic disease than people who are slightly overweight. So that's also something to bear in mind. Just being looking lean, looking skinny is not a guarantee that everything is fine. It's about your body composition.
Darryl, thank you very much for this interview. I am really excited by your expertise, and definitely I would like to learn more about Primal Play Method and even try this. Where can I get more information and more recommendations from you?
If you go to my website, primalplay.com, I have lots of exercises there, lots of activities and ideas. I would say probably the best place would be my book, really, because Animal Moves, because that has a program of lots of different activities from very low intensity to very high intensity. Some strength, some mobility, some balance. So it's quite a holistic program of movement. So that probably would be the best resource for at a relatively low cost. It has a 30-day program, and it covers beginners, intermediate, and advanced. And I also have online resources as well. So I have online versions of that book. I do have an article on my blog about sprinting and about what sort of time intervals that you should be looking at. But yeah, sprinting is really superb activity because it's maximal effort. You're going 100%. You can only do it for a shorter space of time, 10, 20, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, probably that's about it. And you have to rest for a few minutes after doing it and repeat. So most people doing a sprint session once a week would be a good suggestion, but they're not easy. And I would just say that sprinting is not the same as running fast. Some people can run fast and they think, oh, I'm sprinting. No, sprinting is a completely different mindset and a physical demand. Sprinting is basically, I cannot run any faster. I'm being chased by a lion. Even though the lion's going to catch me, I'm still going to run as fast as I can. That's what sprinting is. And that's what you have to create in your mind when you do this. It's really hard to do. Even for me, I'm like, why am I doing this? But it feels great. It does feel great. You do feel alive after doing something like this. For me, if you want to, I'll share something with you. Sometimes I will purposefully chase the bus. I'll like we'll run to the next bus stop. I'll miss the bus, so I have to sprint like 100% effort to get the bus. And I get on the bus and I'm like coughing and I'm spluttering and people are laughing, thinking, he's really unfit. And I'm like, no, it's not being unfit. I've given it 100%. And do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
I will try.
yeah,
I will try.
do that. Let me know how you get on.
Okay, I will try sprinting. I understand that it is very vigorous and very difficult exercise, what I should train outside while running to the bus. And also I would like to record some moderate exercises for concentration, balance, and coordination, and I will show you.
Great. Yes. So definitely, I'll give you a few tips. So the bear crawl, try the bear crawl. That's on the website. Bear like the animal.
Yeah.
And crawling. So you're like crawling on all fours. That's a very good exercise. So it's lower intensity, but it's full body. It's a bit of strength work, coordination. So it's great for the brain. The bear crawl is very good for communication, left and right side of the brain, as the body is moving kind of opposite sides. It's a lot more challenging than it looks. So it's very slow. It's not fast paced. It's really slow, but people look at it and they go, that's easy. It's not a problem. And then when they try it, it's like, oh my goodness, this is more difficult than it looks. You have to support your body weight. Your brain is challenged by the coordination challenge. So yeah, crawling is one of the. It's a very beneficial movement for adults to do for sure. So again, my blog has lots of information as to why that is. Has lots of research to back up some of the reasons why I recommend these exercises. So you'll see that when you go to when you visit the blog.
Darryl, I think that we will not be able to train sprinting at our Biohacking Congress in London on February 20th. Interesting. Are you going to show any exercises for our guests?
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully we can, I will definitely do some movements as part of my talk, for sure. But if there's also an option to do a workshop, a movement workshop, I'm also happy to do that as well. So yeah, I don't want to just talk at the Congress because everyone's going to be talking. So, movement is a big part of what I do, and I want to give people some ideas, and I want people to move at the Congress because it's going to help their concentration. It's going to help their focus. They're going to learn more by getting their brain working through exercise. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll be more than happy to do some movement snacks.
Awesome. Friends, please join us on February 20th. You could get acquainted with a lot of specific information on how to achieve a harmonious combination of technology and the capabilities of the human body for health optimization, performance optimization, and longevity. Get your ticket to Biohacking Congress in London with discount by link under this video.